And so that will be made available to both the participants who are joining us today and anyone who couldn't make it to today's session due to any scheduling conflicts. So in addition to recording, I just want to let you all know, if you don't already see it, we have the live transcription enabled for this session. So you can actually hit the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen if you'd like to enable this feature. All right. So just a quick introduction about the Tuesday Talk series. It was developed as part of my GSADC project. So all graduate student advisors to the Dean and Chancellor are tasked with creating a project that benefits graduate students. And so my project is a two-pronged project. It's a graduate alumni mentoring program. It's a small pilot program right now. And the second prong of the program is the Tuesday Talk with Alumni series. And it was developed in collaboration with key graduate study staff, including Jessica Fayla Ward, who's actually on this call today. And the Spring Quarter series is designed to provide graduate students an opportunity to informally connect with advanced degree alumni who have successfully navigated graduate school here at UC Davis and who come from diverse academic fields and professional backgrounds. Each alum in the series will share their experiences and personal perspectives on a professional development topic of their choosing. So in total, we have 8 Tuesday Talk sessions during the months of April and May. And I will make sure to drop the link in the chat once I finish with this introduction, so you can see what our upcoming sessions, the topics and the subjects for our upcoming sessions. So a couple of housekeeping items before we proceed with our presentation. So I'm going to ask for you to please remember to keep your mics muted. After the talk, we'll have between 15 and 20 minutes for questions, at which point you'll be able to use the raise hand function or type your questions in the chat, and I can read those aloud. So I'm excited to introduce today's speaker, who will be giving a presentation on professional development as self-care. Sarah Mesbauer is a research development analyst with the Interdisciplinary Research Support Team in the UC Davis Office of Research, directing both the Grantsmanship Development Program and Small to Medium Proposal Support Program. Each year, Dr. Messbauer consults on hundreds of research proposals from researchers and creative professionals of all disciplines and ranks. She is the recipient of the 2020 Rising Star Award from the National Organization of Research Development Professionals, oversees a volunteer corps of 80 as NDORP's Member Services Committee Chair, and is spearheading the creation of the RD Accessibility Toolkit as part of a larger equity and inclusion initiative within RD. Dr. Messbauer earned her PhD in ethnomusicology from UC Davis in 2018, untangling the impacts of funding agency programs on the development of Haitian community music festivals in Canada. During her time at Davis, Sarah enthusiastically participated in professional development of all kinds. She directed the graduate teaching community, completed Professors for the Future and Leaders for the Future, and served as the 2016-2017 Graduate Student Assistant to the Dean and Chancellor. So Sarah is my predecessor. Her efforts in scholarship and service were recognized with a Valente Fellowship, Margaret Mondavi Summer Research Fellowship, Outstanding Graduate Student Teaching Award, Belinsky Foundation Fellowship, and a UC President's Pre-Doctoral Fellowship. She's a proud first-gen scholar and a fangirl of David Bowie, Owls in Space. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Sarah Mesbauer. Sarah, you have the floor.
Cool. Hey, everybody, what's up? So if you can hear me, I would like you to pop into the chat and write down your program, because I would like to know what programs everybody is joining from today. So while you're doing that, if you can enable screen sharing for me, that would be fantastic. Yeah, no worries. Epidemiology, Spanish, ooh, psychology. Anna, you're excited about psychology. Nutritional bio, loving it. ECE, international ag. Ooh,
Okay,
cool.
Sarah, I think you should be able to share your screen now.
Perfect, thanks so much. That's screen 2, that's what I want. All right. So make sure that I can pull up my chat again. All right, we've got a nice diversity of folks from different programs today. I'm very glad to see that. Keep those fingers nimble because I'm going to keep asking you questions to pop in the chat today. Don't want anybody sleeping on the job here. So that was a very long bio. I would have given a shorter one if I knew that you were going to read the whole damn thing out loud, but thank you very much for that. One of the things that you will have to learn as a graduate / professional student is self-promotion, because y'all are fabulous. And I think in grad school, one of the things that we are reflexively taught is to constantly be talking down about ourselves. And we just need to knock that nonsense, because less than 1% of people on the planet get PhDs, and I think it's something like less than 10% of people on the planet get master's degrees, and that's ridiculous. So it means that you know, in graduate school, you're surrounded in a bubble of people who all have these, you know, same credentials, and so it seems like, oh, everybody's got that. But in fact, if you zoom out and you look at the planet Earth, you are in fact pursuing something really incredible, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is thinking of professional development as an opportunity to get some perspective on where you are and what it is that you're looking to do, and how getting perspective can actually be really beneficial to your mental health. So how many of you have actually done any kind of professional development workshops or trainings or anything like that? Just pop like a yes or no in the chat for me. Like, have you gone to any kind of Grad Pathways workshop or anything like that? I mean, I know y'all are entered into a raffle workshop for coming to this today, and I would totally sign up for something just for the chance to win $50. So I don't blame you if that's why you're here today. Yes, yes, no, no. Okay. Seems like a slightly in favor of yes, you've done something previously, but a decent number of no's. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fair. And I can totally see why those of you who said no would be like, no, I don't want to do professional development because, you know, I don't have time. It's grad school. I'm here to do grad school stuff. I think that there's a really powerful narrative in grad school, especially from, you know, faculty or maybe from peers and colleagues who say, don't worry about that stuff. You'll be able to focus on what comes later after, especially if you're really interested in getting a faculty gig. I think, you know, there's a strong sense of just doing grad school, just doing kind of the regular grad school stuff is sufficient to get you a faculty job. And, you know, I want to really hammer home the idea that that's not accurate, especially if you're getting your professional development advice from faculty members. Keep in mind that they already have a job. So, you know, they don't have to have the same level of concern about what comes next. And I know some of you are already aware of that, especially if you're interested in non-professoriate positions. So, you know, I think that people kind of get there's a fundamental flaw, I think, in graduate and professional education, which a lot of us are already aware of, which is that there's a lot of pressure to just do grad school, do your research, you know, do your teaching if you have teaching to do, you know, focus on your individual research projects, do your classwork, your coursework if you're still doing that, and, you know, kind of leave what comes after for later. But for, you know, most people at some point, there's going to be these moments of kind of like existential dread of like, oh my gosh, but the market, because, you know, you read some article that gets sent around on Twitter or in your inbox, or, you know, you talk to older grad students who are going on to the job market in whatever field, or, you know, you go to, like, say, a colloquium in your department and it's about preparing for the job market. And maybe you feel that it wasn't as helpful as it could have been. And so in those cases, you kind of find yourself stuck, right? Because you're like, I'm supposed to be focusing on grad school, but school's going to end. And what am I doing next? I just really have no idea what I'm doing. I feel like I'm stuck in a terrible cycle and I just can't get myself out of it. So what do? I have no idea. Oh my God, somebody please help me. Existential dread, right? And then the stress levels increase, and it can be a really significant challenge to deal with. And for many people, I know, especially for a lot of the people in my cohort, it can lead to really significant issues with anxiety and depression and other mental health concerns, and that should not be the case. It's normal to feel some concern and to feel a little bit of stress, but there's also many reasons why you should feel positive feelings about the job market, why you should feel excitement and curiosity and feel like it's a source of new opportunity when you graduate and finish. You should feel prepared. That's what comes from feeling prepared. And so that's really what professional development can help you do. And so breaking this cycle of anxiety and stress and concern and dread, it comes from having some sort of plan for thinking about your professional development and how are you going to prepare yourself for what comes next, whatever that might be. And so when I'm talking about professional development, important to define my terms, I'm thinking about activities, services, resources, any of those kinds of things that are designed to enhance your transferable knowledge, skills, or abilities, which are generally called KSAs. You'll hear the term KSAs a lot when people talk about professional development. And I say specifically transferable skills because in a lot of professional development workshops, that's what they really emphasize, because you get a lot of technical knowledge from your grad or professional program. So technical knowledge would be like how to, pipette properly, how to grow cell cultures properly, how to do like a score study properly. Transferable skills would be like communicating effectively to a non-specialist audience about science, for example. Or another transferable skill would be being able to read grant proposals in any field, just any field at all, and critically evaluate them for whether or not they should be funded. That's a transferable skill. And that's a pretty high level transferable skill. These professional development applies to jobs in the professoriate and outside of them. So if you're thinking about a career as a faculty member somewhere, professional development applies to you too. And there's lots of professional development opportunities at UC Davis. And the thing about professional development is that it should be appropriate to your interests and your needs. If you're going to workshops that are super boring and it's not in a career that you have any interest in, then obviously you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't go to a workshop that you hate just because somebody told you that you should go to a professional development workshop. I have seen people do that and I'm just very confused. And then they leave and they're like, well, that was a waste of my time. And I'm like, yeah, of course it was. Why did you do that? So pursuing professional development can help you lower your anxiety and your stress by just helping you feel more prepared for what comes next. And how do I know this? I know it because it has worked for many of our UC Davis alumni who have gone through the process of grad school and come out the other side employed and happily employed in various positions. And it's also worked for me. I am employed in research development. I'm employed in research development at UC Davis. I know most of you have probably never heard of research development. Just because I'm curious, quick poll. Have you ever heard of research development? Yes or no in the chat. No. Oh, I got a yes. Oops. Yes, but only because of me. Okay. Oh, yay. There's so many more yeses. Oh, than I thought there were. Great. So research development is a professional field that provides researchers with whatever skills or whatever services they need basically to succeed in their research endeavors. So for the most part, this involves providing them with support around developing grant proposals for submission to funding agencies. It can also involve helping them with preparing their research portfolios. So for example, if you're a junior faculty member and you know you need to get tenure, and there's however many like publications you need to get tenure, well, you're going to need to do research in order to get those publications. And in order to do X number of research projects to get X number of publications, to do those research projects, you need to get X number of grants. And to get X number of grants, you need to submit X number of research proposals. And so we do kind of backwards designing people's research portfolios and helping them basically just plan out their whole career up until they get tenure. Then after you get tenure, we do the same thing to full. And then once you get full professor, then we help you set up a research center. So we do a lot of mentoring. We do a lot of professional development with people. We help create convergent research teams and facilitate team science. So with COVID-19, when that popped up, we were doing a lot of work with helping to connect people from lots of different disciplines, both on campus and connecting people from different universities, and, in the US and across the world. We do a lot of competitive intelligence gathering. So what are our peer institutions up to? What are they doing that helps them get, more grants in this one area than we do? And how can we strengthen what we do at Davis? We also do executive advising. So I've been in this job for 3 years, and I have regular meetings with the senior leadership team here at UC Davis and meet with the chancellor's office. And I do a lot of work to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I help our diversity office with finding money to fund pipeline programs and retention initiatives for historically excluded and marginalized communities here. And we also engage a lot directly with the funding agencies that we seek support from. And also with government, because federal funders get their money from Congress, right? So you want to talk with Congress and make sure that they understand what it is that those funding agencies are supporting. So making sure that Congress understands the value of what it is that they are funding, so that they want to keep funding that. So there's a lot of different things that research development people do. And as you might imagine, there wasn't a lot of technical training per se that I got as a PhD in ethnomusicology that prepared me for doing this sort of work. As an undergrad, I studied biochemistry and neuroscience in the pre-vet track. And then I got my PhD in ethnomusicology, which is anthropology and music. And then now I do research in organizational studies. I study funding agencies and in diversity, equity, and inclusion studies. So I'm kind of all over the place with my academic interests, but it works out really well in this field because I can kind of speak multiple languages in terms of academic disciplines. So in the morning, I could be reading a proposal for NASA from our mechanical engineering faculty, and in the afternoon, I could be reading something from studio art. And in the evening, I could be working on a proposal from the psychology department involving clinical trials with mice. So it's really diverse, it's super interesting, and there's multiple pathways into research development and multiple pathways out. And if you're wondering, yes, this is me making a pitch for PhDs and master's students who might be interested in going into research development, because our field is hiring like crazy. We desperately need more qualified people in research development because we have a ton of open positions and not a lot of qualified people. So if you're interested in learning more, let me know. But how did I get this job, since there's no career path for research development? This field didn't exist 10 years ago, which unfortunately is about when I started my PhD. So I didn't know that I was preparing for this, but I was. And it's, how did I prepare for it? It was lots and lots and lots of professional development. So what is now the Grad Pathways Institute, used to just be Grad Pathways. They offered a lot of kind of one-off workshops. I did that. I went to writing retreats. I went to dissertation boot camps. The graduate teaching community, which is currently housed in the Center for Educational Effectiveness. That used to be kind of its own student-run thing. It was actually a GSADC project, one of the first ones, I think. And I facilitated that for 2 years. I participated in Professors for the Future and Leaders for the Future, which has no picture here, I think, because you just chart your own path. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. And then, you know, I was the GSADC, and you know, I've got descriptions down here of the sorts of things that I participated in, but really, I just wanted to do as much professional development as possible, because I really wanted to, there were so many things that I wanted to do, but fundamentally, I was a first-gen student and I didn't know anything about anything. And I think what was most scary for me was that I didn't know what I didn't know. Like, I knew that there were things about grad school that other people knew, like unwritten rules about how you're supposed to act and behave and all these sorts of things, but I didn't know those things. And I couldn't figure out how to learn what those rules were. And so I figured the best way to figure that stuff out was just to go to any workshop that I could go to, and not just learn whatever it was that they were talking about in the workshop, but also just meet other people. And one of the greatest things that I learned from that experience was that meeting other people was such a relief, because it introduced me to other grad students who were going through this ridiculous process that is grad school. It really reminded me that I am not alone, which, you know, talking about mental health and how professional development can be self-care, I think that's really one of the most valuable things that professional development opportunities offer, is the chance to connect with your peers and just get that perspective from other people in other disciplines who are not your department, not connected to the drama, and just be reminded that, you know, you're not alone. Even if it's just to get an opportunity to not hear the same jokes over and over and over again about your freaking discipline. I mean, or if you want to tell your jokes to somebody else who will think that they're funny, maybe with a little bit of explanation about like why that joke about tomato jeans is funny. But, you know, just like a fresh audience, a fresh perspective. It was so helpful. It was so helpful. And I picked up so many skills that I didn't even realize were skills at the time. It was only the cumulative effect over several years of understanding how valuable those transferable skills were, and learning how to talk about those skills, learning how to talk about my value as an individual, and understanding my value as a person. So professional development is really great in terms of building up your self-confidence. So yeah, Gwen Coder in the chat is saying, plug that great big graduate review. It was a qualitative study of the graduate student experience. So if you ever want to read 1,200 comments by your graduate student peers about all of the great things and all of the things that could be improved about graduate school, you know, if you're part of a group that feels like you want to advocate for something to be changed on campus, or you have the time and the means to, you know, make some changes on campus, that's a great resource to do that. it's there. I would love for more people to read it and know about it and help make some of those changes. So what about other alumni? Many other alumni have benefited from having a professional development plan. These are just a couple. I've actually met some of them at an alumni event where we were talking about the benefits of professional development. But Meg Sparling, she got her degree in English in 2016. She said that she went to lots of grad pathways workshops, and she always asked herself, how will this information benefit me once I'm done? So she would go to workshops that were about building a skill in grad school, but she would say, how will this grad school related skill benefit me once I'm done? So she would actually take the workshop and say, how can I apply this conversation about perspective writing to a job I could have after? And she found that really helpful. She would just sit there. She said that she would sit for like 5 minutes after the workshop was done and just write things down in her notes app on her phone about how do I take this and make it applicable. Like what can I imagine would make this applicable to things outside of that? Wade Zeno, he's currently an assistant professor of chemical engineering and materials science at USC. And he participated in Professors for the Future. And he said it was great to feel like he was getting insider knowledge on academia that he hadn't gotten anywhere else. And it made him feel a lot more prepared once he was on the job market. It also helped him to get the job because, you know, people knew that they wouldn't have to explain as much to him, that his learning curve would be a lot lower in terms of learning how institutions worked. But for Wade, his stress about the market was a lot lower because he just had this feeling of being a lot more prepared. And he knew what to look for in terms of applying for jobs that he wanted, because he just had a better understanding of the language of academia. And he could search on job websites and at university websites and just find more instant information about the department culture and things like that, because he knew what to look for. And Bridget Sparks, who's an infrastructure and regulatory specialist at the California ISO, said that she participated in Leaders for the Future and also in the Mellon Public Scholars Program. And she said that her cohort in Leaders for the Future was really valuable to her because she did not want to pursue a faculty position, and Leaders for the Future, which is a program for people who want to transition out of academia, participating in that was the first time she really met people who didn't want to participate in academia. And it was really nice to feel like she had finally found her people, because before that, she felt pretty isolated in her desire in her department not to want a faculty career. So again, like finding that cohort experience. So why did this work? Why is there a stock photo of a lady with a watch? I don't know. That one you'll have to answer on your own. But why did these alumni, why did we have good experiences with our professional development plans? You know, just going to a PD workshop once and expecting that it will reduce your stress and your anxiety, that's not going to work. What makes it work are a couple of different traits. The first is that we took the time in advance to have some sort of plan. I will say that I went off the deep end with this. Before I even started grad school, I had like a 5-year plan of like, I'm going to go to this one workshop and then I'm going to scale it up and it's going to get more intense. And like the pinnacle will be participating in, you know, Professors for the Future. And that's going to be like the ultimate thing. And the GSADC position was not even on my radar when I made the plan. So, you know, I adapted as I went, but I think I over-prepared, honestly. Other people were just like, this is my plan for the next year. Or, you know, this is my plan. I want to do some professional development to learn more about jobs working as a research scientist in industry. So they knew their needs. That's one of the other things that's really valuable. So for me, I was first gen. For Wade, he's African American. So there was certain things that he knew he really wanted to connect with, like networks on campus that he really wanted to connect with. He said that was really important when I was talking to him. You know, whatever it is, knowing what your needs are and kind of what skills you want to develop as a result is really important and really valuable. Making sure that you know what all the benefits are of professional development, or just being open to noticing what the benefits are. So a lot of us, you'll notice, noted that the benefits can be connections with our peers, and that sometimes that's more valuable than the actual skills you learn. Whoops. And then the last thing is really important for grad students to keep in mind. I think one of the things that I encounter when I talk to people who are reluctant to do professional development is that they say, well, my PI hasn't told me that I should, or my PI hasn't given me permission. You know, my advisor hasn't really told me that it's worthwhile or that's worth my time, or my PI has told me that I shouldn't, that it's a waste of my time. And I just like to kind of gently invite you to remember that this is your career, and it's your life. And so, you know, you are the one in charge. You are the one whose kind of mental health is at stake here. And so, you know, you are an adult, you are an independent actor. You do not need to wait for permission from another adult to do professional development work. And I strongly encourage you not to. You know, this professional development work is just as important as research work, just as important as teaching work. Obviously, it doesn't mean that if you're teaching a course that you skip out on a lecture to go to a workshop. But, you know, you can make time for it, and you can have discussions in advance if there's going to be schedule issues. If there's no schedule issue and you know, there's still kind of a negative attitude toward it, that's their problem. You know, that's things that they need to work on. That's not on you. You don't need to tell them that you're going to things. I mean, I know that in the student progress assessment, you know, there's a place to report about professional development, so you can bring it up then. But just if opportunities come up to go to a workshop during the middle of the week and there's no conflicts, don't worry about it. You can just go. It's totally fine. So, you know, I would say this is an opportunity to start making that transition into being an independent, you know, researcher, scholar, teacher, professor, if that's what you want to be. But this is part of that process. It's just kind of taking ownership over your career. So, you know, how to create your plan. You can try a timeline. This is one example. This is what two of the people, the alumni that I quoted before, this is the approach they took. You know, they just did like 1 or 2 years out, and we're just like, I'm going to go to like 2 workshops in a year. Maybe I'll apply for PFTF or LFTF. You know, go to a job fair. Might try and do a 1-day job shadow, something like that. But you know, it doesn't have to be really intense. Again, it's just knowing what your needs are and deciding in advance what you would like to do. For me, I had like a spreadsheet that I just made, and it was based off of, you know, kind of identifying what my needs were. The Grad Pathways Institute has these, you know, 8 core competencies thing that you can look at and kind of page through and see if there's stuff in there that you like. But you know, you don't even have to stick with what's available through UC Davis. If you look through your scholarly or research association website, there's always professional development stuff available through there. If there's, you know, careers outside of academia you want to explore, that job shadow thing that I mentioned, that's a great thing. You can, it's basically just asking if you can shadow somebody for a day or for 3 hours or something, just to get a sense of like, what is a day in the life of this person? That, takes a little bit of time to set up, but the Internship and Career Center can help facilitate that for you. It's incredibly insightful. I did job shadows as an undergrad, and that's what told me I didn't want to be a veterinarian. So it's a good thing to do. It's really helpful. You can also do informational interviews. That's what helped me to get this job that I have now. Those can be as short as 20 minutes, just chatting with somebody about, hey, how'd you get your job? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What skills do you think are most important? Those sorts of things. So I'm going to stop there, but just really re-emphasizing that doing some sort of professional development can be really, really helpful, just because, again, it helps you feel more prepared about what's coming. So when I was going through grad school, because I made that plan before I even showed up, I never felt as much stress about the job market as other people did. Originally I wanted to be a faculty member. And so, I felt some stress when I realized that might not be the path for me, but I was never concerned about whether or not I would have a job when I left. I never thought that I would, end up being a Starbucks barista, although I think that baristas are fantastic. I always knew that I would have a job that paid me appropriately for the skills that I was developing. And I ended up with this job before I finished my degree. It was, they allowed me to set a start date that worked really well with when I was finishing. So there was no gap in my income, in my insurance, and anything like that. And with the people who make professional development plans, when I talk to them, their stories are very similar. So I think it's really worth considering. It doesn't have to be intense. It's for your own mental health and wellness, just something to do for yourself, to take care of yourself. Because grad school it's a grind. And this can help it be just a little bit less daunting, I think, to just take a mental health break and help you feel a little more prepared about what comes next. So that's what I've got. Jillian, did you say that you're facilitating?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Sarah,
Sure.
for an illuminating presentation. So we will move forward with questions. Folks can either put them in the chat or you can raise your hand, and I will call on folks who have their hand raised. So we already have a question in the chat from a few moments ago. So we can start with that from Ian. Any advice on connecting with peers and making professional connections remotely? And before we start, Sarah, do you mind to stop the screen share just so we can see everyone's? Yeah, that would be helpful. Thank you. And so we'll start with Ian's question. Any advice on connecting with peers and making professional connections remotely?
Sure. So in terms of making professional connections, one of the things that I found most helpful when I was doing the job search, such as it was connecting with the Internship and Career Center. They have counselors there who are specifically hired to work with grad and professional students. So you're not getting the undergrad counselors who are like, what's a PhD? They have PhDs themselves, and they get it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't go talk to them for years. I did not go meet with them until I was in Leaders for the Future, and it was a requirement as part of being in Leaders for the Future. And there was a lot of heavy eye rolling on my part. Oh my God, I gotta go talk to the Career Center, what? And I finally did. And I was so mad that it was so helpful. I was angry about how helpful it was. But it was really, really helpful to talk to the career counselor that they have there. The person I spoke with was Dr. Marjani Akintunde, who no longer works there because she's actually now part of my team. But all of the people that they have there are really excellent because they have experience at UC Davis, and they often also have experience in industry. And so they give you some real tough love conversations if you're looking to work outside of academia about how to, convert CVs to resumes, how to write cover letters, how to change your language to match the language of the world outside of higher education. And in terms of connecting, they have incredible networks of alumni. So she connected me with Meg Sparling, who worked in the office that I was thinking about applying to. And that was incredible because Meg gave me all of this information about what her boss was looking for. And she basically said, you should not listen to the position description for this job at all, because that's not what Cheryl wants. What Cheryl wants is XYZ. And so I wrote my job materials based on Meg's advice, and I got the job. So if I hadn't gone to the Internship and Career Center and, well in advance and told Marjani what I was looking for, what I was interested in, what kinds of fields I wanted to explore career-wise, what kind of work I did not want to do, then she would not have been available to help me, to send me. She sent me, I think, 15 or 16 job calls before, we finally got down to the 3 or 4 that I applied to. And I'll say that it was 4. Of the 4 jobs that I applied to, I got offers from all 4 of them. And it was because of, the connections that Marjani helped me make with connecting to alumni. So I really highly recommend the Internship and Career Center as a source for connecting with alumni. I also think that, LinkedIn is really the place where people outside of academia connect with each other. It's totally normal to, send a LinkedIn connection request and then say, hey, I'm a UC Davis alumni. I am looking to, connect with people who've transitioned out. I would love to chat with you for 20 minutes. Do you have time? I've done that a lot, and people are so excited to talk to grad students who are thinking about transitioning out. If you're looking to connect with academics, if you're thinking about a job in the professoriate, email is still a great way to do that. And I think, leveraging your connections in the department is the way to go for that. But the Internship and Career Center, getting your profile together on LinkedIn, because they will look for you on there. That is 100% a guarantee. Also I think that grad studies, as they get their kind of alumni mentoring program up and together, I think you're going to see a lot more alumni on campus, especially, as Walker Hall starts getting active in the fall. There's going to be alumni that you'll be able to connect with that way. So, if you see opportunities that come through, like this is a great example of, leveraging professional development, but if you see emails coming through about, opportunities to connect with alumni, take advantage of that. Because I think a lot of people don't, and alumni are like, nobody wants to talk to me, but they're great sources of information that way. So don't only connect with people who are in your field, because you have no idea like who could be helpful to you. Meg was in English. Somebody else who was extremely helpful to me was in civil and environmental engineering, because the field of degree really does not matter as much once you get outside of higher ed.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Ian, for your question. While we're waiting for additional questions, we're just going to put that link to the Tuesday Talk series, so you can check that out for future events coming up. So we have a question from Julie. What year in your PhD did you and Jillian start your role as the graduate assistant to the dean position? Is it only UCD who's looking to hire in research management positions? So I'll just quickly answer the first part for me. I'm in my 6th year and I started this year. So you have to be a PhD candidate in order to start the position. And that could be at any point, obviously, in your PhD career. So for me, it's my 6th. And go ahead, Sarah, you can take it away.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I know the academic year, it was 2016, 2017. And my application was last minute because I was supposed to get funding for my department that year, and they pulled it last minute because of some shenanigans. And so I submitted my application 2 days before the deadline. I think it was my 7th year. Was it my 7th year? I think it was, yeah. Yeah, so I did it a little bit later. I do know the person who came after me, she did it immediately after passing her quals, because she really wanted to have the position, but also wanted to finish in GTFO. I think that was ambitious. I think that was probably more than I would advise. I think it's a really good thing to do your 5th year or your 6th year. If you're in the humanities, FYI, for all of you science people who are like, if you're in the humanities, it's pretty common to take a long time. Also, if you're like 1st gen or, you know, have caretaking responsibilities or other things, it can just take you longer. As for the other question, is it only UC Davis who's looking to hire in research management positions? So for research development, everybody everywhere is looking to hire, and you can get some really well-paying jobs if you're willing to relocate to, you know, Kansas or places that are in the Great Plains. They just were advertising for a job, and this is international as well. They were just advertising for a job in where was that? It was either in Nunavut or Yukon. I can't remember, but I mean, there are research development positions that are opening kind of everywhere. So it's extremely sought after. It's the fastest growing field in kind of academic administration right now. So research development is a really great field to explore. There is in my professional association, in the National Organization of Research Development Professionals, there is a membership tier for, they're called trainees, and it's cheaper than the regular membership. And if you join, then you get matched with a mentor who is a research development professional from anywhere in the country. And they kind of walk you through what research development is, and they will, you know, kind of just give you advice on how to learn more about the field and things like that. So that's, I think, another good way to learn more about a potential field you're interested in, is to join their professional association. If they have like a trainee level, if they don't, ask, because you shouldn't have to pay a full membership fee. Professional association fees are like stupidly high outside of like research fields. So I think the trainee fee is like $100 or something. So, you know, you can ask your department if they're willing to pay, because that might be something they can do. But yeah, like joining a professional association and just seeing like what kinds of workshops they have, what kinds of resources they provide, getting a vibe for like, how friendly are people? How willing are they to help each other out? Does everybody here seem really cutthroat and mean? Is this profession just full of white people? Like those are all really important questions to consider before you decide to like commit to a career in something. So there's joining a professional association or going to a workshop on something that's hosted by a professional association can be a good way to figure that out.
Thank you again. We have time for maybe one more question. Feel free to either put it in the chat or raise your hand. And I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in the chat for any questions that you might have of me later on. So any final questions while we still have Sarah, who's been so generous with her time. Okay, so another question from Julie, is it worth lingering around and not rushing to finish your PhD to attend as many PD workshops as possible?
Oh, it's a complicated question. Yeah, it's a complicated question. If you have funding, if you have an advisor who you genuinely like and who is 100% like okay, or at least not going to, be super angry with you. If your committee members are totally fine with it, I think that it's an okay option to explore. I will say that like the GSADC position, there's a clear understanding when you accept it. There's a clear understanding between grad studies and your advisor that you're essentially delaying your degree for a year to pursue the role, or at least it was for the case for me. I don't want to speak for you, Jillian, but when I did it, it was like, yeah, I won't scare people. It was a lot of work when I did it, but actually, because I'm one of those people that's more productive when I'm busy, I got most of my writing done that year. So, I also think that because I did so much professional development and because I found it really beneficial, my advisors saw that and saw that it gave me the community that I needed with other people who were first gen, and gave me the connections that I valued. And so it was really easy to make the case that more professional development was going to be helpful for me in getting me to finish. So in terms of not rushing to finish your PhD, I think you can absolutely consider what the value added is. So what is it, you have to plan what specifically do you want to do professional development wise, and what is the potential benefit of that. So I had an inkling before taking the GSADC position that I wanted to go into academic administration. And that job, that GSADC position, is definitely what helped me get the position that I have now, because it gave me experience in academic administration, working in grad studies for a year. So, if you think that you might be interested in similar kind of administrative type work, then I think it's really valuable. Delaying to participate in Professors for the Future, that could also potentially be really valuable. If you think you might want to go, if you're really committed to going into the professoriate. But again, it's complicated, a complicated question, because it really does depend on whether your advisor is going to be okay with it. They're under a lot of pressure to get people to finish. There's a lot of financial stuff involved. So personally, I think that professional development is fantastic and it's always worth pursuing. But yeah, you have to make sure that you have that support network around you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I want to thank Sarah again for a wonderful presentation, and thank you all for joining us today. Before we officially close, I know I put the link to the talk series, but I want to put the registration link. So our next Tuesday talk will be with Dr. Laura Lindenfeld, who is Dean and Vice Provost at Stony Brook University, and she's going to be talking about the academic job market. So if you have questions about that specific session, please feel free to reach out. And as Sarah said earlier, all student participants are entered into a drawing for one of five $50 Visa gift cards. And those will be announced at the end of the series. So thank you so much again for joining us today. Thank you again, Sarah, for a great presentation. And I hope to see many of you at the next Tuesday Talk event. Take care and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Bye, everybody. Hope this was worth your gift card. Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you, Sarah. It's nice to meet you finally in person.
Yeah,
I know we've been doing a lot of communication. So
Did you turn off the record? No,
I didn't.
I'm gonna